Hello and welcome to the Soulful Shift podcast. You are not going to want to miss today's episode. I'm going to talk about alignment. There are so many misconceptions about what alignment is and how you get there. And if you've ever thought to yourself, it's a fanciful idea to be in alignment, or it's woo-woo, or it's not the time, it's a luxury that I can't afford, you are definitely going to want to listen to today's episode. Being in alignment right now is actually not an option. And the faster that you get into alignment, the better and easier it is going to be for you. So I'm going to be diving deep into this today. This is going into energy. This is going into quantum physics. This is such an important aspect of us moving forward. You know, what I love about energy is it makes sense of so much of the world. You know, I have a background in finance. I was a CPA. I love logic. And what I love about energy is it's actually completely opposite to woo woo. It is incredibly logical. So today's episode, I'm going to explain what alignment really means and why you want to understand it now so you can create the next level success in your career, in your life, in every aspect of who you are. I'm also going to be diving deeper into energy in my February masterclass training in The Unshakable Leader, my year-long series. I'm going to put the link down below if you feel called. Like I said, energy is super important. This is the first of likely 2 or 3 episodes I'm going to be doing this year on energy. So, what is alignment? Okay, so I'm going to explain it from 2 different angles. There's many angles I can explain what alignment is from, but I picked 2 that really felt like, you know, one way doesn't always work with some people. That's why I wanted to pick two different ways to come at this, because if you hear it twice, it's going to anchor it deeply in. So we know the frequency on the planet is changing. Okay. Don't necessarily have to know everything about what that means, but you really have to be living under a rock to not see the planet's changing, Earth is changing. Nothing is like it used to be. The reason why it's changing is because the frequency on the planet is changing. And there's a whole story into that. Again, I'm going to go into that in some of my master classes, but just know that the frequency in the planet has changed. What's important to also note is that the frequency on the planet was the same, very, very same similar spot for tens of thousands of years. And they actually have machines that can measure this. But just know that we've started to shift energy a number of years ago, but this is a very new thing. The energy in the planet was very stable for a very, very, very long time. And so if you've ever heard me say what used to work doesn't work anymore, it's because the frequency in the planet has changed. And once the frequency in the planet changes, everything changes. And alignment is one of those pieces. So now, depending on how old you are watching this, likely when you were born, the frequency in the planet was in that same stable state, okay? And so you picked a career, like I did. You picked a career based on your family upbringing, your demographic, where you live, like all these factors that went into why you picked a career. And what you did, whether you were conscious of it or not, was you locked into a career. So we are all energy, your energy, and everything around us is energy. And what you did with your energetic frequency, where you were at, is you locked into a certain career. Now, say it was to be an executive. Okay, let's just say that's what it was. You would have had to have been in energetic alignment with that type of a profession when you chose it. That's how energy works. Okay. So there may have been a million other careers out there that were available to you, and there always are, but you aligned with this particular one energetically. And how the world used to work when the energies were stable is you could lock into a career, to a job, into something. You could lock into it, and because the energies were so stable, you would stay in energetic alignment with it. Okay? So frequency is a measurement. Okay? So we change our frequency over time, but it's actually a measurement. So this is very mathematical. It's like a radio station, right? You turn into a dial, the music comes in. That's mathematical. So you aligned with a certain career. And because the energy was stable for so long, you could stay aligned with it and you could stay completely in congruence with it because your energy wasn't changing much because the energy in the planet wasn't changing. So you could just stay in alignment. You knew how to achieve that goal. You knew what you had to do. You had to go to school. You had to do certain things, right? There's a whole list of all the kind of like rules of what the system said you had to do. And if you did them, it worked. You actually got there typically most of the time. As long as you kept applying yourself, growing, adapting, putting the work in, you could get there. But what most people don't realize is the reason they were able to keep doing that was because the energy was stable. You stayed in an energetic alignment with your goal. Okay, that is critically important. That has all changed. That is completely changed. So a major assumption that we all made, not realizing we were making this assumption, of course, it's been completely shattered now. So now what's happened is the energy on the planet is increasing. And when it first started increasing about 15 years ago or around there, I mean, I'm not sure exactly when it was, but it was kind of doing this. It was going up slowly, 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 slowly. But now it's doing this. It's doing this. Okay. So, and if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm going to put the link to YouTube below if you want to watch and see my hand signals, because actually I do use my hands throughout this episode a bit more than usual, because alignment is about matching, right? And it's easier for me to describe in showing you, right? But anyways, the energy's been changing. So what this means is that everything on the planet's changing. The frequency of every person, everything is changing, and it's all changing at different times and different speeds. So where you used to be in alignment with your goal and you could just steadily work towards it, this is happening. Well, it's not quite happening that for you yourself. You are going up, right? And if you're watching listening to me, I know yours is rising quite a bit. And the career that you picked might not be rising at the same level, or the job you've picked, or the company you've picked. And see, what happens is, based on our frequency, there is a bandwidth, okay? So we're frequency beings means we have certain bandwidths that we live in, right? So you're able to change your frequency a little bit and stay in alignment with something. You could go up a little bit and there could still be some overlap, right? But if you've changed your frequency a lot, you could now be completely out of alignment with a goal that you've had for 5 or 10 years. Say you're in a company right now and you've decided you want to get to the next level in management, in leadership, and you've decided this is the company. You think to yourself, well, I'm already in this company. I've already proven myself. But here's the problem. If you are no longer in energetic alignment with that company, it will not happen. You will not get the job. If you've increased your frequency much higher than the company you're working in or the people you're working around, it doesn't matter what you do. You are no longer in alignment with it energetically, which is mathematically, which means you will not be able to get that promotion. And that is so important to hear. I hear, and maybe this has happened to you, I hear this from so many people. They keep trying and trying and trying, and they know they're qualified and they know they can do the job. And yeah, you can. You totally can. But you're not getting to the next level because you are not in alignment with that company anymore. And it doesn't matter what you do. You cannot try to negotiate with quantum physics because that's what you're trying to do. And what I hear people will do is they use this kind of logic of, well, okay, so I'm in this company now. And so I know it's not in alignment with me. I know it's not where I want to be. I know it's not a great company. I don't really love it. But if I can just get to the next level and get up my resume, then I'll move to a better company. That's the logic we use, right? That's the logic we've been taught in this world. But alignment doesn't work that way. It doesn't go, oh, we're just going to give it to this person, just temporarily, make it in alignment, and so they can leave. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't have that kind of a grace to it. You don't get to negotiate with energetic alignment. You didn't used to have to. And that was the thing. Like I said, we were at this steady energetic frequency. So we didn't even have the thought that we were trying to negotiate with energy. But if you've ever thought yourself, I'm just going to stay until, I'm just going to do this until, I'm just going to wait until, I'm going to wait till the economy's better, I'm going to do all these kinds of things. Energy doesn't work that way. It doesn't care. It doesn't care about your reasons. It doesn't care about your logic. It just says, you don't match anymore. You just don't match. And that's why I say, when I hear people say like, it's fanciful, or it's, it's a luxury to have alignment, I'm telling you, it's not. It's actually the key to your success. Quantum physics is telling you you are no longer a match to where you are. And what I'm also going to tell you is that for most people, they are aiming too low, meaning they're trying to stay in situations where they have outgrown them. And they're just hoping to bide their time, right? But it doesn't work that way. Life is trying to tell you, you are meant for more. You are meant for a higher level. Your frequency has changed, and you can no longer go back into environments that require you to repress yourself, suppress yourself, keep yourself small. You are beyond that. And it's going to keep slamming the doors of opportunities that are out of alignment with you energetically. And the key here is not for you to think that there's something wrong with you. Because that's where people go. There's something wrong with my resume. There's something wrong with my skill set. There's something wrong with something wrong with. And we have this huge list of everything we're doing wrong. Because you think to yourself, well, I'm qualified. It's confusing. And this is why I love energy, because it can simply be you've actually energetically outgrown something. You are no longer in alignment, and it's time for you to move on. And I know that can feel scary at times, but you are meant for more. That's why you're not having these lower things happen. Maybe you're trying to get a raise. Maybe you're trying to get a $15,000 raise and you can't get it. Life's trying to tell you should be asking for double that or triple that. It's not going to give you things that are no longer in resonance with you, okay? So I said there's two ways I'm going to explain this. So the second way is, now, every emotion, every state we are in has a certain frequency. So the lower states are like depression, lack, scarcity. And then as we move up, we move into more empowering, like happiness, motivation, joy. The top of the frequency is authenticity. Okay, it's authenticity, being your truest self. And authenticity is also something that's been completely distorted. It's been very distorted. Authenticity is not about, shouting out your truth. It's about really knowing yourself deeply and just being you, like just being you, taking all the masks off, taking all the barriers that you've created between you and the outside world, and just being you. And so if you consider now the frequency is rising, as I said, so what we're doing right now is, before at a lower frequency, inauthenticity was okay. We saw it everywhere. Everywhere we saw inauthenticity, right? People performing, saying things they don't believe. And what are we seeing now in the world? Anything that is not authentic is being exposed. It's because the frequency is moved towards authenticity. Now, here is a key part to this. Alignment is not about aligning with your ego. It's not about aligning with your conditioning, aligning with your programming of what you were taught was supposed to happen in the world. When we talk about authenticity, we talk about alignment, it's actually alignment with your soul, who you really are. Call it what you want, the truth of who you really are. We've been conditioned in this life to think certain things, to be certain ways, to exist in certain ways, to do things a certain way. The truth is, our soul, our truth, who we really are, use whatever word you want, has a completely different path for us. That is our true, authentic selves. We've been taught to look to the outside world for validation, to look for answers. But where we're at right now is you looking inward to yourself. And that's actually connecting you back to your soul. Now, back to alignment, back to authenticity. So when I talk about alignment, what I really mean is, what's being asked of you right now is for you to align with authenticity, to who you really are. See, we've been told we need to do things a certain way, or we need to be a certain thing. But what's happening now is you're being really nudged, pushed at this point to throw out all the conditioning, throw out all the things you told you were supposed to be and do, and actually connect with yourself and really go for who you really are. Why did you come to this earth? There's a purpose that you came here for. And we're being nudged to actually align with that because for most of our lives, for most of us, we've aligned with our egos, with fear, with conditioning, with programming. And we're making a massive shift right now from ego to soul. That's why I call this the soulful shift. If you've ever listened to the very first episode in this podcast, I talk about that. The shift that we're going through is shifting out of the programming, out of the conditioning of all the supposed to's, and we're aligning with the truth of who we really are. And so, what life is also getting you to do, because now the frequency is lining towards authenticity, is if you have taken a job, taken a position, if you are thinking and being and doing things based on your ego and conditioning, which most of us have done for most of our lives, life is saying to you that doesn't fly anymore because it doesn't, because the frequency is now much closer to authenticity. And that's going to become much more prevalent as 2026 goes on. So what's happening right now is you are being redirected towards your true authentic self and doing the work you came here to do. And I will repeat this because it's really worth repeating. And I want you to hear this again, is likely you are selling yourself short. People think alignment is easy. Like if you're in alignment, everything just is, it's easy. It's great. It's just you go into alignment and everything flows. And you know what? It does eventually. But that's the part that most people miss. If you think about it, if you have spent your entire life, which most people on this planet have, aligning with your ego, with fear, with scarcity, with conditioning, with all the programming, to then start aligning with the truth of who you really are, that's a massive shift. That's a big change. You're completely changing how you operate in the world. And so people think, well, if I'll just go into alignment, it's going to be all really easy and da da da. It's not at first, because you're having to completely shift out of your ego into your soul. And there's a whole process that you go through. And this is why I talk about reclaiming your power so much, because you need to reclaim your power in this process. And this is the work that I do with my clients. It takes time. This isn't going to happen overnight. But a couple of things that are really important to note is it's no longer an option. And that's not to scare you, but the truth, it is no longer an option. I see so many people now who keep doing the same things over and over again, and they're exhausted. And it's because they're out of alignment. They're trying to achieve a goal that is so out of alignment with who they are, and life keeps smacking them down, but they're just, firm in who they're being and what they want. And it's because that used to work. It did used to work, but it doesn't work anymore. This next stage we're in, it's really about surrender, which I know that most people hate the word. And believe me, at times in my life, I have too. But all I can tell you is that over and over and over again, the more I surrender, the easier life gets. And that's where we're going right now, because the ego wants control, right? The ego wants to know the whole plan. The soul wants expansion. Soul wants you to grow. The soul wants you to actually achieve your full potential. Your ego does not want you to achieve your full potential. And that's something that's really important to note. Your soul actually wants you to have these things. They want you to have the success, the joy, the bliss, the wealth, the impact, the influence, whatever it is you want. Your soul wants that. But it is a transition. It is a transition of letting go of all the control and the shoulds and everything else, and understand that there's a higher plan that's trying to unfold in your life. And that is what alignment is about. And it is a process of refinement. We don't get it right the first time. It is a process. We get closer and closer and closer, and we go higher and higher and higher, and life gets better and better and better. But that first step can feel very uncomfortable. And when your soul is trying to bring you in alignment, it is not going to make sense for the most part. And you're probably going to feel like, oh my God, I can't do this. That's how you know you're in alignment with your soul. So I used to help people leave corporate, okay? And I would help them figure out what it is they want to do. And I would help them start to build a business and then create the the exit plan out of corporate. So when I did that, people always came to me with a list. This is the list of options. They wanted like a soul aligned business. This is what I think I could do. And after working with me, nobody ever picked anything on that list. Because our logical minds have this list. So for you right now, you might be thinking, oh, I'm just going to go for this next level position, this promotion, this next level of leadership. And you can't get it. And you're like frustrated because you know you're qualified. Meanwhile, life is trying to go, hey, you're actually supposed to be the CEO of this other company over here. And you could be like, oh my God, well, I can't jump. That's too many levels. I don't have the qualifications. I haven't got the stepping stones on my resume and da 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 da. That's how this works now. This is how alignment works. And so, yes, there may be some new skills you have to learn quickly. Big deal. You can do it because you will feel really motivated to actually learn those skills. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to example of myself. So it was a long time ago when I realized, like I used to be a CPA in corporate, right? Long time ago when I realized I was not on the right path. I was not meant to be a CPA. I was not meant to stay in corporate. Okay. So it was a number of years before I figured out what I wanted to do. It just came to me one day, just literally like poof, I got the answer, which often is how it goes. And I realized I'm going to have to go on camera. And I was not happy. So growing up, my dad was a phenomenal photographer. He actually used to do it professionally. But having my picture taken as a child was traumatic. My dad used to yell at us if we didn't smile in the picture. So I had a lot of trauma around having my photo taken. Like it was awful living through that. And I was like, oh my God, I have to go on camera. How am I ever going to do this? Like I was terrified. And that's what happens when you start to listen to alignment. And it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to learn how to do this. And so I just started flipping on the camera, talking into it. And I remember saying to my daughters, I said, I hate having my photo taken. Can we start to take pictures a lot? I need to get over this fear. I need to get over this like bad memories I have of being on camera. And so I spent effort and time actually working at it. And I remember the first video I posted on YouTube. It's down now, years ago. Like, oh my gosh, I sounded like a robot. I was like on camera, like, okay, speaking. And I was just like, it was awful. I was so scared. And now it's the most natural thing in the world for me to hop on camera, to have my photo taken. So there's parts of this that you might be like, it's uncomfortable. And this is the hard part. People think, well, if it was in alignment, it wouldn't be hard. And that is not true. The more you have built your career in your life based on ego, the greater chance there is you're going to have to do something that feels uncomfortable because you are coming into alignment with your soul. And that takes steps. That is going to take you doing things differently. And this is, again, like I said, one of the myths about alignment is that it's just going to be a walk in the park and everything is going to be easy. And it does get easier and it does get more fun, but not initially. You have to get through the first parts that feel uncomfortable. And what's also really important to know about alignment, and I can say this because I've been working on this for years and I get more and more into alignment every single year, is that when you do come into alignment, it's more fulfilling. It's more rewarding. It just feels more natural once you get over that sort of hump, that sort of uncomfortable part in the in-between. It does. It just becomes like just what I do. So I, flip on the camera, it's just what I do. I work with clients, just what I do. I create content, just what I do. It doesn't feel like work. It's creativity, it's output, yes. But it's just what I do. because I know I'm in alignment with what I came here to do. So I want to leave that with you because, I've shared that there's going to be hard moments, but just to know that at the end of those hard moments, there is fulfillment. And that's what many people in this world are looking for is fulfillment. You will never, ever have fulfillment following the conditioning and the programming and the ego, how you were taught. You will never, ever have it. I can guarantee that. I tried. As someone, I can tell you right now, I tried my damnedest. It will never happen. The only way is to follow this alignment, and the energies right now are supporting you in this. So, what I'm going to mention also here just came to mind as I was just wrapping up is that I do have 60-minute sessions called The Upgrade, where I help you figure out where you are out of alignment. We get to the root cause of where you are exactly out of alignment so you can fix that and help you move forward. I'm going to put the link down below for that. Again, that's called The Upgrade. And of course, I've got longer programs. If you want help moving through all of this and going through the entire process to really up level your career, go to that next level that that you came here to do and be. All right, beautiful soul. I hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.